Hello, good morning. Happy Tuesday to everybody who's joining us today. Welcome to our number 10 in our series for Secrets of Successful Retirement. My name is Tara Kendrick. I'm here with Bill Witt, and we're with Senior Resource Center. And today's topic is the good, the bad, and the ugly, the truth about modern annuities. I hope you enjoy our little Clint Eastwood kind of funny spoof on a great movie. Let's get started. Just a couple things before we begin, though, is if you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to go up to that blue chat button, little talk bubble at the top of your screen, and you're welcome to type in any questions you have. And then when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll check those out and be able to answer those for you. And as always, we're available by email or phone if you'd like to set up an appointment with us or have questions. Our consultations are always free. So how do we help as Senior Resource Center? Well, we help in 4 different ways. The first is we do comprehensive retirement planning. Something that's so important to a lot of people is making sure that they don't outlive their money. We want to help people with that. The second is tax planning, just helping people find ways to pay less in taxes over their lifetime. We also do a lot of long-term care planning. That includes VA benefits. It can include Medicaid for skilled nursing facilities. We also look at Social Security planning. We look at Medicare options for when you turn 65 in your health care, and then estate planning. So making sure that you don't have to go through probate or you don't have to, you make sure you do the right thing to pass your assets on to your heirs. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Bill, and he's going to start our presentation. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tara, and welcome everybody to today's presentation. We always start out with a problem, and probably the most basic problem we're all going to face in retirement. A question that a lot of people raise with us when they come to visit us is, will I outlive my savings? We're living a lot longer. In one of the earlier presentations, we talked about longevity is both a blessing and a curse. We live a lot longer, which is great, but that means our money has to last longer, and we have to avoid a whole litany of potential risks that can take away our savings along that journey. And so, with proper planning, we believe it's possible to build a safe, secure retirement plan and to enjoy retirement. So, Terry, in our title, it says modern annuities. And I'd like to explain what I mean by modern annuities. A lot of people, when we bring up annuities as a potential source of solutions for people, they often think that this is something that was created in the last 50 or 100 years to help Americans. Well, the answer is a lot older than that. Annuities were actually created by the Romans. In fact, in Roman times, the word annua, A-N-N-U-A, meant annual stipend. And it's the basis of our word annuity. And what is annua? Annua was a Roman contract that created a lifetime stream of payments. So apparently, even back in Roman times, people were worried about outliving their money. The first annuity that's recorded in America actually was created before we were a nation. It was created in 1759 in Pennsylvania when Presbyterian ministers created a fund where they would contribute while they're working, and then when they retired from service, they would receive a lifetime stream of payments to pay for their retirement. Well, modern annuities are what I call products that have been created in the past 10 years. And I've made a statement in my book, More Money for Retirement, and with a lot of our clients, that there have been more improvements in annuity products in the past 10 years than in the prior 2000. And so today we're going to explore the good points of annuities. We're going to talk about what critics say are some of the bad points, and just give it a fair assessment to see where annuities fit. Before we get into the good, bad, and ugly, I want to differentiate. There's 3 types of annuities that you may have heard about. The first is immediate income annuities. These are products where you put money in and immediately it starts paying out a lifetime stream of payments. And Tara and I use these oftentimes with couples where we want to preserve all of the assets that a couple has and qualify one spouse for Medicaid in a nursing home. And because the state of Texas divides up assets between spouses, and the bucket of money that's in the nursing home spouse's name, we want to protect that, and we do it by redirecting those funds to a community spouse. So they're very important products. The second type are variable annuities. We don't offer those, but variable annuities are actually track investments in the stock market, which means you get all of the upside, but you also get all of the downside. So a variable annuity product can rise in value based on performance of the stock market, but it can also drop. And the third type, fixed annuities, which is what Tara and I use uh, with some of our clients in creating safe, secure retirement plans. These are the products that I want to talk about today. And what distinguishes fixed annuities from their variable annuity cousins, fixed annuities, you can peg the growth against a stock market index. So they can grow when the market is going up. But unlike variable annuities, they have a floor, and the floor is zero growth in any given year, which means if the market drops 30 or 40% this year, our clients don't lose any of their principal or previous year's earnings. They retain all of that, which is kind of nice. So, everybody remembers this guy. Clint turned 91 yesterday. And it was a great movie that he made back in 1966, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So let's talk about some of the good features of annuities. The first one is the goal is to maximize safe growth. I already said that you can peg your gain against a stock market index, so you can get growth in good years, but no loss in bad years. And what has changed in the last 10 years? Up until about 10 years ago, the only market index that we could actually peg growth against was an index like either the Dow Jones or the S&P 500. And these aren't managed indexes. They are just a projection of what the market is doing, going up or going down. And that's fine. But some of the insurance companies said, we'd like to offer people more growth potential. So about 10 years ago, we saw the development of a series of new indexes, and they're called volatility control indexes. Well, how do they differ from the S&P? The S&P 500 is an unmanaged index. It's whatever those 500 stocks do. Well, these volatility control indexes, and there's many of them, created by people like Robert Shiller, a very, very smart financial professional. You may have heard of the Shiller-Barclays CAPE Index. Well, these are managed indexes, and they're designed to take advantage of upside movement or momentum in the market and to provide downside shielding against corrections. So unlike the S&P, which does whatever it does, these managed indexes have a quicker break on downside to try to reduce the losses and have a better chance of gaining. Their target return is 5%. So they try to average a 5% consistent rate of return year by year. And even in down years, when the market's down 5 or 10 or 20%, their goal is still to eke out 2 or 3%, some minor level of performance, even in a bad year. So today we have safe growth opportunities we didn't have 10 years ago. Another important aspect, annuities have always been about creating lifetime income. Going back to our friends, the Romans, uh, annuities always have income options. And what has changed dramatically is today we have what are called income riders. And these are income sources you can turn on, and you still have access to your underlying bucket of money, your principal. And today's many of the annuities we offer have increasing income streams. If you think back about 60, 70 years ago, when our grandparents retired, they got a pension from their employer. And that was nice. It was lifetime income they couldn't outlive. and it provided for them with a safe, secure retirement. What was the downside? Well, it was a flat income stream. So what paid out when you first retired maybe felt good, but maybe 20 years into retirement, your earning power had been eroded because of inflation. Because inflation, everything gets more expensive over time. These newer income riders offer increasing lifetime income streams that their focus is keep up with inflation. So your buying power is not diminished. The third, I think, strong feature of annuities, they're offered by insurance companies, and these companies are rated. What do I mean by that? Well, there are rating organizations like AM Best and Fitch and Standard and Poor's that go around to the insurance companies quarterly and analyze where their investments are placed. And if you remember back to 2008 when the great collapse, the Great Recession was taking place, uh, I I was concerned that some of these insurance companies might be vulnerable. So I went and pulled balance sheets on the insurance companies that Tara and I work with. And I was amazed to find that 96, 97% of their assets are invested in either government treasuries, long term government bonds, or high quality corporate bonds. I didn't find any mortgage backed securities. I didn't find any gold or hybrids or Bitcoin. And that's important because when you invest in something, you want to make sure that the organization behind it is going to be stable. And so insurance companies are rated quarterly by these different outfits. And it's a way of keeping track of who's doing well or who maybe is taking on more risk. Think back to General Motors when they went bankrupt, or Lehman Brothers, they went out of business. Or remember Enron, a major petrochemical company that at one point was flying high and then suddenly wasn't flying high at all. Well, none of those companies are in fact rated. They were free to do what they wanted to with their assets, and sometimes that can lead to consequences that hurt investors. So I like being with companies that are rated, where you have some level of expectation they're going to be able to fulfill their obligations. Another feature of annuities, modern annuities, is they offer tax deferred growth. Annuities share a lot of the tax capabilities of IRAs. You contribute to an IRA, it grows tax deferred. Well, annuities do the same thing. And you can do it with both pre tax money, IRA funds. You can also put after tax money in an annuity, and it will grow tax deferred. Why is this important? Well, next week we're going to talk about ways to reduce our tax obligation. And what I like about tax deferral is I get to choose when I'm going to pay my tax obligation. If I have a tax deferred annuity and it's compounding and growing, I only pay tax when I take money out. And so I can defer taxes to a time period maybe when my overall earnings are lower and I'm in a lower tax bracket. So it gives me control that I don't have with like a CD where every year, whether I like it or not, I get a 1099 stating I owe interest income. The next feature, creditor lawsuit protection, is also very important. As we get older, many of us we have assets maybe in our savings account, our checking accounts, uh, and we're all one auto accident away from facing a potential creditor or lawsuit. Well, one of the good features about annuities, they have creditor lawsuit protection, which means if I have money in an annuity and I get sued, what are the assets I can automatically protect? My home, that's shielded by our homestead exemption. IRA or 401k accounts, retirement accounts, those are protected. But annuities also allow us to shield or protect our after tax money. And so if I have a large amount of money in a CD and I have a creditor, a lawsuit, I get sued, I can lose those funds, but not if they're held inside of a tax deferred annuity. The next feature, exempt qualified funds from LTC. What do I mean by that? Well, Tara and I do a lot of long term care planning in our practice. We found that during retirement, paying for long term care is probably the biggest risk you or I are going to face. And many of our clients come to us when their moms or dads have had a stroke or an illness, they're in a nursing home or trying to pay for long term care. And they're worried that, gosh, this long term care event could wipe out mom and dad's savings. And it can. In an earlier webinar, we talked about the average cost of a nursing home today in Austin, in Central Texas. It's probably somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000 each month. Assisted living, which is the little brother of long term care, can run anywhere from $3,000 up to $6,000 a month. Well, most of us can't afford to pay those kinds of substantial fees on a monthly basis. And fortunately, we live in a state in Texas where our Department of Health and Human Services holds exempt qualified funds if they're held inside of a tax deferred annuity. So many people come to us and they go, Bill, we've got a home that we really love and it's paid for, and we've got a 401k or IRA. And that's pretty much our savings. And we don't want to see it wiped out by one of us going into a nursing home. And I'm happy to tell those folks that just by transferring their funds from, say, a brokerage account where it's vulnerable and would have to be spent down at the nursing home, just by rolling those funds over to a tax deferred annuity, they're fully exempt. We do these rollovers every week, and we put smiles on people's faces when they go, "You mean mom and dad get to keep all the money they've got in an IRA or a 401k or a 403b?" Yes, they do, if it's held inside of a tax deferred annuity. So they roll it over, they take away market risk, they know they're going to have some nice growth. Potentially, they create another income source, but most importantly, they're shielding the funds from long term care expenses in a nursing home. If this is something you're worried about, come and see us. We can show you how to protect your funds from long term care. The next feature, minimal or no management fees. In one of our earlier webinars, we talked about strategies to beat the market, how to outperform the stock market using products like annuities. And the two features that we said you have to accomplish in order to beat the market, you have to eliminate management fees because they erode savings over time, and you have to eliminate market corrections. Well, most investments today, if you have a stockbroker, a financial advisor, he or she is probably charging you somewhere in the range of 1% to manage your funds. If you're in mutual funds, you're probably paying another hidden fee that could be anywhere from a fraction of a percent up to more than 1%. So let's say the mutual fund fee is 1%, and your financial advisor is charging you 1%. 2% is not a lot to pay, but how long are you with your advisor? 10 years? 2% times 10 years, fully 20% of your money is in someone else's pocket. Well, we have products today that have minimal or no management fees. Our clients, Tara and I are fee adverse. We look for these types of opportunities where you get to keep more of your earnings. And the final feature of annuities that I'll mention is the government guarantee. If you have funds in the bank, you probably sleep well at night knowing that if the bank should close by chance, that the FDIC will back up those funds up to $250,000 per named account. Well, the same type of guarantee is available on annuities, and it's a state provided guarantee. To sell insurance products in the state of Texas or in any state, you have to join that state's reinsurance fund. What does that mean? It means that all the insurance companies that sell in Texas are part of a communal fund where literally every company is backing up every other company. So, in the rare occurrence where, gosh, an insurance company gets in trouble, if it defaults, all of the other companies stand behind those investments. So, your funds are guaranteed up to $250,000 per named account. So, these are some of the features that we think set annuities aside. They give them some unique characteristics for growth, for increasing income, tax deferral, creditor lawsuit protection, and exemption from long term care events. These are all important features that our clients are looking for. Oh, let's go on. Lee Van Cleef was the bad guy in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So let's talk about what some critics of annuities say about them. And let's explore these and see if they're actually realistic. We got a number of features here that are complaints. The first one, annuitization. In our world, Tara and I say annuitization is a four-letter word. What does that mean? What is annuitization? Well, if you put money in an annuity 10, 15 years ago and you wanted to get a lifetime income stream, you had to annuitize the product. What does that mean? It means you convert your asset into an income stream. You no longer have access to the underlying bucket of money, but you do have a lifetime pension. So, what's the win lose on this? If I live long, I outlive my underlying bucket of money, I win. And that's good. But what if I only live a few years and die? In the old days, the insurance company got to keep your bucket of money because you'd annuitized it. So no money went to your heirs, it stayed with the insurance company. So for many, many years, Tara and I have avoided annuitizing products because of the limit that it puts on them, where you had to guarantee you're going to live long to get a real benefit. Well, as I mentioned earlier, today with income riders, the new feature that came out about 10 years ago, today you can get a lifetime pension from your annuity, but you still have access to the underlying bucket of money. So if you're drawing lifetime income and you go, hey, I need an extra 10,000 to replace the air conditioner, you can go in and tap the policy. It's still all there. Now, it does whittle on the lifetime pension, but you have access to all of your money. The second complaint on annuities, and I think there's some validity to this one, complicated moving parts. When clients come in and they go, well, gee, Bill, you talk about these different market indexes, and some grow based on up to a cap limit, some grow based on a participation rate. Maybe I get 50, 60, or 100% of the market index. There's a lot of choices here. And so I think there's some validity that there are uh, many options or features inside of annuities. And I guess my comeback on this would be, as an insurance agent, as someone responsible for helping people plan their retirement, it's my job to educate and to make sure my clients understand how the annuity is working. And let me give you an analogy that I think is a good one. We all drive automobiles, right? And we all look at our dashboard, and I know what my speed is. I know I've got oil pressure. I can see what my gas tank is doing. I feel good. I can manage my vehicle, but I couldn't begin to get under the hood of my car and replace parts or do repairs. That's beyond my level of expertise. And so, using an automobile as an example, we all drive a complicated multi part vehicle, but we've learned how to do it by reading the dashboard. And that's what Tara and I help people do. It's read the statement that you get annually on your annuity to understand what it's doing, and to educate our clients so they know what those moving parts are all about. The next complaint about annuities, limited growth, that was a true statement up until about 10 years ago. But remember, I mentioned that with the new volatility control indexes, our clients now have many more options for upside potential while still retaining the downside protection. And so limited growth really isn't an issue anymore. Uh, was true 10 years ago, not too true today. I hear people come in and they go, well, I don't like annuities because I've heard they have a lot of fees. And that's a true statement if you're talking about one particular type of annuities. And here we're talking about variable annuities. Remember, I said there were three types: immediate income, variable, and then fixed. Well, variable annuities, one of the knocks on those is that they have higher fees, maybe some of the highest fees of any investment product. And that's one of the reasons Tara and I have chosen not to offer them. We don't like fees. We also don't like the thought that with a variable annuity, if the market plummets, you can lose part of the principal that's inside your product. So lots of fees don't apply to fixed annuities, they do apply to variable. So they're not really in our sandbox. Another common complaint is annuities are long contracts and they have surrender charges. And that's a true statement. Many of the products we write are 10-year contracts, which means over the 10-year period of the first 10 years of owning that contract, there's a declining surrender charge if I were to go back and pull all my money out. Well, I ask a lot of my clients a simple question: how long do you plan to be in retirement? And usually the answer is, well, a long time. So if you're gearing up for retirement, finding a long term contract that'll support your long retirement isn't a bad thing. It's you put your money in, you generate income to support your lifestyle in retirement. That feels good. That gives people peace of mind. And then if the market corrects with some of their other investments, our clients don't feel bad or complain because they go, look, I don't have to tap my investments that are still in the market when they're down. I have enough income coming out of my other products that I can live comfortably, safely, and give my market based investments time to recover. So, they are long term contracts, but so is retirement. And we're building long term solutions for our clients to have a safe, secure retirement. The final complaint is a valid one. There's no step up in tax basis on an annuity investment when you die. This is just like IRAs. So let's compare this to IRAs or other investments. If I have a home and I bought it for $100,000 and today it's worth 300,000, I can sell my home or die owning it and I get a step up in tax basis, which means I don't owe any tax. So I own my home, I die, and my children inherit my home at its new current higher value, no taxes due. Same is true on a brokerage account. I buy a share of IBM stock, it's worth $100, and when I die, it's worth 150. My heirs would get a step up in basis, no taxes are due. But like IRAs, annuities don't get that step up in basis. So if I have an IRA and I die, my kids inherit it, but they too will owe tax on the money that's in there because they don't get a step up in basis. So this is a valid criticism. And what it means is you want to have a balance within your investment portfolio. You want to have diversification. Some assets that get a step up in basis, that's nice. Others that maybe don't get a step up in basis, but offer other features like increasing lifetime income or safety from market corrections or shielding from a long term care event in a nursing home. Well, we're to the ugly. Remember Eli Wallach, or yeah, Eli Wallach? He was the ugly member of the trio, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, what's the ugly regarding annuities? And I guess I'd kind of like to summarize. In my book, I have two thoughts that I share with people. The first one is in retirement planning, what gets us into trouble? It's not what we know, but what we think we know and act upon. Incorrect beliefs. Incorrect beliefs limit our opportunities. And I've had people come in here and go, well, I have a bad feeling about annuities. And I go, great. Where did you get that? Well, from my mom or dad, or from my investment advisor 10 years ago. They told me how bad they were. And if you think annuities are bad, you close off the opportunity to invest how they can help create a safe, secure foundation for your retirement. You literally give up opportunities. My second thought is this: if we don't know that there is potentially a safe alternative to the stock market, it's easy to fall into the thought process that the stock market is the only option for retirement planning. You look at the evening news for the last 30 years, what do they tell you every night? The Dow Jones is up 10 points or down 10 points. The S&P and the Nasdaq are up or down. So we're conditioned every night to learn about how stock market indexes are moving. And over the last 10 years, the markets have done amazingly well, particularly in the last year. If you'd asked me last March when the market was dropping, which way do you think it'll go over the next year? like a lot of other people, I would have thought, well, the market's going to probably continue to go down because we're in the middle of a pandemic. 10, 20 million people have lost their jobs. Hundreds of thousands of businesses have closed. The airlines are losing money like crazy. So is the cruise industry, the hotel industry. Our economy is really reeling. And yet, to my amazement, the stock market surged. Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, several weeks ago on the 60 Minutes show, was asked that question: Why is the market up? And his comment was very insightful. He said, "Do you realize that brokerage houses and investors have borrowed over $800 billion to put in the market? Well, that's got to help drive the markets up." But many people along the way, they've watched this market continue to surge and said, "Gee, it's always going to head north." And I don't know if it will or not. I hope it does, but corrections tend to come every 10 years. So it's easy to think the stock market is the only option. I think that annuities have a place in people's investment portfolios. They can provide a foundation both of market safety and also income sources that build in a safe, secure lifestyle. So I believe they have a place. They're not the right solution for all your money, but I believe that building a safe, secure retirement where you can control the outcome, that annuities have their place in the sun. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover with you today. We went over the good features. We went over what some market critics say are drawbacks to annuities. And then we've talked about some final thoughts. So with this, with our sombreros on, Tara, do we have any questions from any of our listeners?
Yeah, let's get to those questions. And again, if you have questions as we're discussing, go up on that top talk bubble and type in your questions. All right. So, first question is, what does it cost to set up an annuity?
That's a good one, and the answer is nothing. Uh, these are investments that you fund with maybe a check out of your checking account, or you could roll over an IRA into an annuity. And the annuities we write have no front end fees or charges. Some investment options, some mutual funds have upfront loads where a percentage of your money is taken away just for the privilege of being in that investment. With annuities, if you want to put 100,000 in, all of it goes into your account and starts working for you.
Okay. And some of them have a bonus too. So sometimes depending on the product, right?
That's a good point. Some of the products have bonuses that boost either the income potential or the underlying asset value. And so, these are all things. Tara and I are what I call independent agents. We're not tied to an insurance company, so we don't carry the banner for a specific company. Our job is to look across the spectrum of insurance companies and products, and in any industry, there are some products that are better than others. Our job is to find best in breed, ones that offer more income, more growth, or a combination of growth and income.
All right. Let's see. Next question. Um, oh, this is a good one. Do I still have to take RMDs if I put my IRA, say, into an annuity?
Unfortunately, the answer is yes. Uh, Uncle Sam lets us defer taking money out of our IRAs, our 401ks, our qualified accounts until age 72. That changed with the passage of the Secure Act a couple of years ago. It used to be 70 and a half. Today, the year I turned 72, I have to start taking required minimum distributions. And all of the annuities we write have, uh, they're RMD friendly, which means no matter what the amount of the RMD is, it generally at age 72, it starts at around 3.5% and grows. That percentage gets bigger every year as we get older. But the good news is that the annuities we write are RMD friendly. So even if I had to take out 8 or 10% or 12% to satisfy my RMD, the policies allow that without any penalties.
All right. Okay, let's see. Next question is, how much of my money should I put into an annuity or should be in annuities?
That's another good question. And as I said in one of the earlier slides, this isn't a place where you put all of your money. Uh, what Tara and I try to do when we build a safe, secure retirement plan is build it on something that you and I can control. If I know the annuity can't contract in value, that's something that I can control. I know there'll be some upside, but no downside. I like that. That's a foundation block. I also, if you go back to one of our earlier webinars, we believe very strongly in the concept that income, guaranteed income, is more important than asset growth. If you look at the history of the financial planning industry over the last 50 years, everything that was stressed was growth. You get more growth in the stock market, you put your money in, market's up most years, it's wonderful. Uh, Financial advisors don't like to talk about the bad years like 2000 and 2001 or 2008 or 9 when the markets they started reeling and there was major corrections. Those corrections don't feel good. And it's since the stock market is not something you and I can control, what Tara and I do in our planning is we build a retirement budget. With all of our clients, we build 30-year plans. We ask our clients, how much do you need monthly to live comfortably? And we factor that for inflation because we know that the cost of living is going to go up over time. And then we go about maximizing income in retirement. We maximize Social Security income. We look at the assets that you have and convert some of that money into an annuity that'll generate lifetime income. Our goal is balance the budget. Just like when you're working, you feel good when you've got a paycheck coming in every week or 2 weeks. Well, our clients do the same thing. They have money coming in monthly that's protected from market corrections and will grow if the stock market is up this year. So the end result is they feel more confident in retirement that they're not going to outlive their savings. Once you've built that foundation, if you take the rest of your money and put it into the stock market or gold or Bitcoin or hybrids or whatever, you can do that comfortably knowing even if the market corrects this year, you don't have to tap your savings. You've got time to let your funds recover. And that's important. In one of our earlier webinars, I showed a chart about what happens if I have to tap my retirement funds when the market's down. And sadly, you can drain your portfolio. You can run out of money before you run out of time. So,
All right. Next question is, if we use a Roth IRA to fund annuities, are we getting taxed again on withdrawal?
great question. And the answer is no. Uh, Roths are wonderful. Uh, Roth IRAs, Roth IRAs, are funded with after-tax dollars, so we don't get a tax break when we put money into a Roth. Or if we convert a traditional IRA over to a Roth, we pay the tax penalty up front. But once the Roth funds exist, whatever they earn going forward is shielded from taxation. So in our practice, we look at ways to help our clients gradually convert IRA funds, which is what most people come into us with, over to Roth. And we want to do it in a tax efficient manner. If you do it too fast, you push yourself into a higher tax bracket, and that can end up taking away a large advantage to getting your money from taxable over to tax free. Another feature we find in doing Roth conversions is that if you can pay the tax penalty with other funds, with other after tax dollars, maybe I've got, let's say, a $100,000 IRA that I want to convert to a Roth, and I've got 100,000 in my savings account that's after tax money. If I can use that money to pay the tax consequence on the IRA conversion to Roth, then I'm converting all those IRA dollars to Roth, and then you'll see a tax advantage. I've got a spreadsheet that shows how doing a Roth conversion that way actually increases your earnings in the future. Now, Roth IRAs, like traditional IRAs, if they're inherited, all the funds based on the Secure Act have to be withdrawn by your heirs over a 10-year period. In an earlier webinar, we talked about maximizing retirement accounts. And one of the reasons you want to get IRA funds gradually converted over to Roth is, let's say you die with a large IRA and your son or daughter inherits it and they're in their 50s or early 60s in their prime earning years. Well, having to take money out of that IRA at that time can be very painful. You make Uncle Sam your primary beneficiary. We don't want to do that. So we work with our clients to do gradual Roth conversions, be tax efficient, create tax-free investments in the future. And then the Roth could be in an annuity. It would be tax-free. And then when they pass to your children, they pass as a tax-free investment. So your
So,
kids don't pay taxes.
so if I'm turning on the annuity with the income rider and the money's coming out and the money that I invested in the annuity was Roth money, I'm not getting taxed again on it as income tax.
That's true. And let me go back and touch on something. We covered this in an earlier webinar, but let's say you fund an annuity with an IRA. We have annuities that will gradually draw down the value of that IRA over, say, a 15-year period. So you turn it on at age 70, let's say, you start drawing income. By age 85, the annuity has been drained. You've received back all of what you put in plus earnings. Well, there's another option we have there. As the IRA is approaching depletion, let's say when it's not got 100,000 in it, but let's say there's only 4 or 5,000 left in your IRA. At that point, in age 82, 83, 85, we convert that IRA over to a Roth, and the go forward lifetime income is now tax free. So that's another way we use annuities. It's like giving yourself a raise when you're in your mid 80s. And as we've learned in an earlier webinar, many of us will live into our late 80s, early 90s, some of us to 100. Wouldn't it be nice to get 10 or 15 years worth of tax free income to support retirement? So good questions.
All right. Well, that about sums it up for us. Won't drag it on any longer.
What's on next week, Tara?
But next week is going to be about how to pay less tax.
Good. Well, uh, I think you may be shocked that we not only pay income tax and property tax and sales tax and excise tax. You'll find that we're paying taxes on a lot of things, and so an important part of our practice is let's use the tax tables and tax rules to our advantage. Right now, we still have some very low tax rates, the 10 and the 12% tax tiers. We're going to show you next week how to maximize converting taxable assets over to tax free using those lower tax brackets before the tax rates go up. So join us next Tuesday at 10 o'clock and we'll talk about ways to pay less tax.
All right. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, send us an email. Our emails are bill@srctexas.com and tara@srctexas.com. I will be sending out an email this afternoon. It'll have a recording of this webinar as well as a free copy of Bill's book and a link to next week's webinar, so you can go ahead and sign up for that.
Yeah, and by the way, all of our webinars are stored on our website, srctexas.com. So if you need to see a previous webinar or want to hear this one again, you can go to srctexas.com and click on resources, and you'll see all of the recorded webinars. Well, thanks for joining us. Have a great week.